Hello and welcome to the Sunrise Road, a podcast with conversations that connect and weave hope into the fabric of our shared lives. We're excited to walk the Sunrise Road together.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to be on a podcast again this week, and particularly since this week we have a special guest with us. I'm very excited to have my friend Lisa Janssen with us, who is the administrator at the Gathering Place, an important spot on the map here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Lisa and I know each other from Leadership Lincoln that we both attended a couple years ago, and I'm so excited that you are here with us today, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be with you and the good work that Eastridge Presbyterian does in our community as well.
Yeah, you already hint that members of our community are participating in the work of the Gathering Place. For the listeners who are not familiar, there may be a few with the Gathering Place. Can you give us a little glimpse on what the work is of the Gathering Place and what you're doing?
Absolutely. So the Gathering Place is one of many programs within Community Action. Um, Community Action has 4 different focus areas. I'll just quickly touch on those. Early childhood education, financial and family well-being, homelessness prevention, and hunger relief and healthy food access. So the Gathering Place is part of that programming for the healthy food access and hunger relief. We are a soup kitchen or free meal program located at 1448 East Street. The capital of Nebraska is 3 blocks north of here. We're just south of the capital. And we're in a neighborhood that is higher density. There are a lot of people living in this beautiful neighborhood. Many of them are apartment dwellers, some are homeowners, but we're here to make sure that any of the folks in our community, especially in this neighborhood, have access to a free, healthy, hot, nutritious meal. And we do that by serving free meals 7 days a week from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we have a very small staff that makes the meals here in this beautiful home that we work out of. And it's really wonderful because that small staff then works with a larger group of volunteers. Some of the volunteers from Eastridge they're part of our programming, and it turns out every night so seamlessly that people show up and share their gratitude for the basic gift of food. I think you said something yesterday in your sermon. It's just that easy, and yet it's so hard. And the hard part is that we have to make sure we're sustainable and that we have the support we need. It's not as hard as it would seem, but it's something we work on to address every single day to make sure we're helping those in our community that need it the most.
That's wonderful. I know that the Gathering Place is a place where several of our members of our community volunteer, and they are passionate about volunteering. In fact, those who volunteer at the pantry, they kind of adopt that as their mission, and whenever their new dates open up, they sign up for half a year ahead because that's they're so passionate about that. Can you share a little bit about your guests? Who are the people at your table? Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many of them. I will just share one piece of information. We served over 55,000 meals last year. Some people walked away with multiple meals if we had an abundance, but that is a lot of food going to a lot of people. And so the people, they're wonderful. They're from age newborn to 91 that I know of, and everything in between. Many of them are people that have lived in this neighborhood their whole life, that have lived in Nebraska their whole life, or they're new to our country or new to our city. So we're seeing people from Nebraska, but also from around the world. And we hear different languages spoken. We hear stories of, oh, when I was 5, I was down the street at the old grocery store in this neighborhood that doesn't exist anymore. Many of the guests that we're serving do work. I think when people make assumptions about who's going to a soup kitchen, they assume that it is the worst off, that it is people that are experiencing homelessness or are really, really just struggling. But what is really wonderful is that there's a little bit of everything. Folks often have full-time jobs, and it's just not covering all the bills. They may have multiple part-time jobs or 1 or 2 gig jobs where it's just seasonal. So a lot of people are working more than people would make the assumption. We've also got folks that may have Social Security benefits. They might have a physical or mental health disability. So coming to dinner might help stretch their financial situation. We've also got families. We've got families that it just is really nice to offload some of the burden of cooking or the financial burden. But also not everybody comes because of the financial piece. There are some people that come really to get that social benefit, that connectedness, that community. Our guest, one of them that is just a delight. She is 91 years old, lives nearby, walks over when the weather is good. She plays the piano and socializes with her peers. Honestly, that social joy and connectedness probably is the reason she's coming. Somebody on her 91st birthday, somebody said, well, the reason she's so healthy is she walks, so exercise. She shares her talents of playing the piano, and she eats the good food that you're serving at the gathering place and socializes. And I think that embodies a lot of what we're trying to achieve here, is to offer the good nutrition, but also that next level of social well-being, that connectedness, that piece where somebody recognizes you are here and you are a part of the community. And I think that's such a wonderful piece that people may not assume is happening.
That's awesome. One question I had, you just threw out that one number, 55,000 meals last year, and I'm not that good at math, but that means well over 100 meals a day. How do you accommodate so many people in a home, in an old home, is what I understand, right?
Sure. And it averages out, we're open 7 days a week, but we close for some holidays. Our average is somewhere closer between 150 some nights. Our biggest night was 275 people. We gave 1 meal per person that night. And that's a great question. How do we accommodate that many people coming through? It was a learning opportunity from COVID. Previously, we would have everybody come in and eat inside or on the porch. And the numbers made that work in this beautiful home. They could sit down, have a dinner. COVID, our numbers increased and the concerns for health increased naturally. So we served all of our meals in to-go boxes out the front door. And I can't even tell you how much gratitude we got at that COVID experience, that we didn't shut down, that we didn't take the need for granted, that we kept having the nutritious meal available to people. So it took a while, but in November of, was it 2022, we moved back inside, but we realized we were serving far more people in that grab and go COVID method, that there's no way we could have them line up for dinner inside. It just wouldn't work. So we kept packing these to go eco-friendly boxes. And we said, let's give everybody the choice to eat inside the home, on the porch, or get it to go and eat somewhere else. And I think that offered a piece of dignity for so many people that may not have joined us previously. They might have thought, oh, that's not for me. I don't want to sit down inside. That gives me too much anxiety, or that's just not my cup of tea. That's not for me. By doing the question at the door, the only question we ask is, hi, how are you? Maybe. Or would you like to dine inside or get a to-go meal? And so it gives people choice, and the people that join us inside, they love it. They're comfortable. They get their meals right away. The people that get it to go, it gives them opportunity to get home, to do whatever they need to do at home, to get to work, to catch the bus. Things that we may have missed before. Not saying that, we just didn't know, but we realized in that other method, we couldn't serve everyone. Now we can serve a lot more people. And they said, yes, we'll take the meals. And so it's almost 12,000 more meals than 1 year ago, which it tells me we're doing something right. We're giving people a meal in a format that says we value you, or we value your experience. I don't know, or they like our food, our home cooking. Whatever reason people come to us, we're glad they do. The fact that we're seeing more numbers, it says that our community is struggling a little bit more than we were before. We're happy that people are connecting with us. I would honestly be glad if someday I did not have a job, for the reason that we have solved the hunger issue. Mm-hmm. I will say, though, in your question earlier about who are the people, I am so lucky to do the work I do. I get to connect with people on a different level, and just share the joy that they're here, that they are our community members, that they are our neighbors. It brings me joy every day. I leave with a smile. I really do, because it's so valuable to connect with people over the basic need of food. Food brings people in a comfortable way, and I value that I get to do that, and I am honored that people share some stories with me.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I was going to interrupt at one point and ask a question, and then you answered it. You answered it so beautifully. But one of the things that we've been talking a lot as we move through this series that we're in Matthew 25 is knowing a little bit more about people. What we don't want to do is we don't want to serve somebody thinking that we don't need that too. Does that make sense? I mean, I'll remember a gentleman who came in asking for food at a previous church, and I shamed him without knowing it. Like, I was trying to do the right thing, but I clearly made it a situation of like, I have something that you need from me. So how do you like balance out that to be gracious and welcoming, and to respect your guests, and to love with dignity, rather than out of a sense, I mean, because you have volunteers coming from like everywhere. all over town. And mm-hmm. So like, how do you do that consistently on a day after day basis of treating your guests with dignity and love?
Yeah. Oh, that's a fabulous question. I think a lot of it is really listening to the people we're serving, not making assumptions that we know anything about them or what's best for them, but taking time to listen to what they have to say often goes a long way. One of our guests, I think about this years ago, said, "You're the first person that has been kind to me today." And that really just made me think like, okay, why are people not being nice to you? or kind to you. Just the fellow community decency, that bothered me quite a bit, that wherever they traveled previous to getting to us, people were unkind to them. And so I think listening to the people we're serving, also allowing them to share with us what they can contribute. Oh, is Toot here? Hi, Toot. That's our friend. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Anyway, I got distracted because we have good folks amongst us. But back to Melodie's question, how do you make sure that people are valued and the dignity? One of our guests lives nearby and has asked us for years to volunteer somehow at Community Action. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to really get him placed just right. How does this work? And then he just started helping us during COVID by putting out the trash can every day. It gave him purpose, and he continues to do this every single day that we are open. He shows up, he sits on the bench, converses with his peers, builds community, and then helps us do what's in his capacity every single day. And it's so neat to share with people that he too is our volunteer. That works for him. But I think making sure we're not making any assumptions about the people that we're serving goes a long way. And I share that because I hear people say, well, I see folks coming to dinner in very nice cars. Or I saw a person experiencing homelessness with an iPad, and they were charging it outside downtown. And I thought, okay, that should raise some red flags. If they're charging it outside downtown and they look a little weathered, it's probably because they don't have a shelter to do that. But it's not for us to assume that we know what happened to them yesterday. And this is kind of what I was hinting at in the service yesterday, and I didn't as eloquently say it as I wanted to. But we never know where a person is in their story. So they may have the nice car. They may have the nice handbag, the designer apparel, the technology that says, ooh, that person has some money. And yet that could be from weeks ago when I hate to share this, when they've left a bad situation. Maybe they've left an abusive situation that is no longer in their best interest, and they took anything they could out of that situation. And now they're in the place that you see them asking for help. That's not the first thing people think of when they see, ooh, that person's got some Gucci or an iPad. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to us because that's not our narrative. Our narrative is the person experiencing homelessness or needing help. They have done things that are poor or made poor choices, maybe. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're here to help them. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily what's going on. Mm-hmm. It could be any number of situations. So I encourage anyone who is a helper that wants to be helpful to, and it's hard. I get that. It is really, really hard to not jump to our judgment mind because we are humans and we do that. I myself do that. But sometimes if we can allow ourselves to slow down a little bit, to listen to a person and to not jump to the assumption first, I think that is so helpful in trying to be a helper. I really do.
Do you ever find, I'm thinking about people's stories and about what we say at the top of our podcast about weaving stories together. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, in the scenarios that you just gave, like, do you ever find that part of your work is helping people to weave their stories together? Like helping them to understand what has happened to them and why they are in a place where they are finding it a wonderful place to be, going to a soup kitchen for food, for whatever reason that is. Like, certainly, as you know, busy families and busy people, and you know, all those scenarios of like catching the bus at six and all of those things. But just as you were saying that, and I've got this in front of me, Thomas shared it with me, so that I could say the top of the podcast today. And so that's like sitting right there, you know, that we're weaving hope into the fabric of our lives, weaving stories together. Do you ever find that that's some of the work that you all do as well as you listen?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most joyful things that I get to experience, oh gosh, people come back to share successes with us. They are telling us how their story is unfolding and weaving with the community. There are two people that stand out in my mind. One is a younger woman who years ago needed help with some housing needs and just some struggles. And it wasn't something that, the hard part is we can't solve all the problems here. We can address hunger and connect people to resources. So this is where the weaving starts happening, is connecting people to resources. And she was just young enough that I could see this just was hard for her to independently want to walk down to the nonprofit known as Centerpoint. It was at 13th and E at that time. It's now moved. But I thought, okay, I really think if I walk down the street with her in the door, if she chooses to go from there, this might be one of the most helpful resources to her at this time. And she has been such a wonderful storyteller that she comes back to tell me often, hey, that helped me so much. Now she's recruiting all of her friends and family to come to me. They all want to ask me for help because that was so helpful to her. But she will tell me where she's at now with her progression from where she was. And she will talk to other guests of the gathering place and say, you know what, Lisa helped get me started going in the right way. Or someone else that works at the gathering place, they tipped me off on this resource. I'm better off. And so we converse as they're eating dinner and inspire each other. And it's the inspiration is absolutely coming from the people that are running with what we try to share with them. We try to share verbally or with messaging on paper, on flyers, on the fireplace, on the bulletin board, something that may inspire them to try something new or connect to a resource that means something to them. And we hear our guests weaving fabrics with each other. It is so beautiful to hear these stories come alive. There were 3 gentlemen that were sitting on the bench outside on the sidewalk about 1:00 on one of the days we were open. And I said, you're here really early for dinner. And they said, oh, well, we connected at dinner last night and we're helping so-and-so move a couch from one place to another. And I just see that happening and things unfolding because people are building their community while they're eating dinner. And sometimes we get to be a part of it. Sometimes they are the ones that help each other or help us inspire. I don't know all the things or all the resources. I make sure that I'm always asking, what do you know? What can you contribute? So that it's a robust resource sharing opportunity. And I think that's how you get something woven into something beautiful, is making sure everybody contributes and different versions can contribute. Yeah, I love that that's part of this podcast is weaving the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you another success story?
Please,
I feel like I'm just talking on end and end. But there is a gentleman, this is the other one, that's just a beautiful example. And yesterday I referenced there are some folks that have some really hard times, and that we have to acknowledge that. Not everything, I think Thomas, you referenced this too. Not everything is happy all the time, because here's what we do. Sometimes life is very hard for the people we're working with, and that's okay to acknowledge that. It's also worth sharing the successes that come out of the work that we're doing together with our guests. And one gentleman who's an immigrant, and I won't share too many details. I don't want to identify where he's from or too much about him, because he hasn't officially signed off and said, you can share my story. But immigrant who showed up to dinner and would eat in our room that's like the little library room, and would look out the window, and he was enjoyable to converse with, talked about the languages he spoke. And then one day, it was about this time of year, maybe November, first week in November or such, he said, I'm in need of a coat. I'm new here and I don't have a winter coat. We had one in stock that day, and I said, does this fit you? It fit perfectly. And so then he just was a happy guy, doing his language classes, coming to dinner, making friends. It was really neat to see. And then he shared with me, okay, I don't have enough funding to keep my apartment. That has run out. I'm moving to the mission. He moved to the mission. He would come back and share how that was going, give us some updates. And he would say, it's really hard there. I'm so thankful for what they do and what they've given me. I have shelter. I'm learning slang. I'm learning differently than I would in the proper English class. So he took it as an opportunity for growth. And then several months later, he came back and said, guess what? I got my work permit. I'm going to find a job. And of course, a few weeks later, he found a job, came back and told us. And then a few months later, he came back to say, it was quite a bit later, he came back to say, I've moved into the neighborhood again. I saved some money. And I'm nearby. And it all started here at the gathering place, me asking for that coat. It gave me some hope that there's some good out there. Mm. Well, recently, this just gets better and better every time he comes back. He informed me, and he was shaking a little bit when he came to dinner. He said, I am buying my first home so I can bring my family to America to be in my home together. I have no idea what his life was like before. I've got some glimpses. He's a very smart man, and just has this joy to bring with us. And he shared that this was all very, very hard, but because there were people here that he connected with, he felt like he had a community, and that he said he's never getting rid of that winter coat, because it was his inspiration of, okay, people really do care, and I'm going to be okay. And he's a homeowner now. It's incredible. Not every story comes out that successful, but we hope that by people coming to join us, they are better off than they were before. And we assume that that's the case. We hear a lot of good as well if people are willing to share that.
Thank you so much, Lisa. This is so inspiring. I love this story. A real bread story, right? One that feeds us as well. One last question, Lisa. What would you like to share with our listeners? How can we support your work? What are ways to be supportive of the Gathering Place? What would you want us to know?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I think the other aspect of our guests, I want you to know that the people that come to dinner are talented, they are smart, they are funny. They are our neighbors and our friends. So please remember that when you're interacting with a person you may encounter that you don't know what's going on. That, I know I emphasized that before, but it's a joy to get to know people. And if you are part of Eastridge Presbyterian, get on that volunteer list. I know it is hard because your volunteers are so amazing and they don't give up their time slots. But if you can do that, that's honestly a really wonderful opportunity. We also, I hate to plug our fundraising campaign on your podcast, but this is how we sustain the work that we do. From now until the very end of 2024, all donations given to Community Action's Gathering Place are matched dollar for dollar. So if you do have the inspiration to give financially, that helps us do this work year round. And that's wonderful. We also value people that if you have coats or hats or gloves, those are wonderful gifts to give. And you don't feel like you have to, provide financial contributions to get those. If you've got something that's just been in your closet and you don't need anymore, we would gladly share that with somebody. But also, if there's something that you're curious about or that you have more questions, please reach out. We are always willing to discuss this further and inspire more. We're here 7 days a week. I want to make sure people know that for anyone that needs a dinner. And even if you're just curious what we're feeding people, you can come to dinner, even if you would think you don't need it. It doesn't matter to us. Everybody is welcome. That's the joy of it. It doesn't matter when you're serving food. If you show up, you are welcome, and we're happy to have you.
I really love that you have that no barrier. Yeah, there's no prerequisites, no once a month or once a week, so on requirement.
No clarity card, if anyone knows what that is. No proof of need or financial threshold. It is that basic need. Wouldn't that be a dream come true if all the basic needs of food, shelter, all the things could be that easy? That's where the hard part comes in. And I know you're working on that. And thank you for your contributions to the housing questions. But yeah, the food, it really, people are better off when they're not hungry. They can accomplish things. They can work on their dreams and goals and move forward in a more positive, healthy way if they have nutrition that feeds their mind and body. So yeah. Okay. I will quit.
No, you're
having so much.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. What questions do you have?
I just wanted to say that and let people know that this is actually my first time meeting Lisa, and that's you've been friends with Thomas for a while, but I just feel I'm very thankful for the connection that we have, and I feel like we're new old friends. And one of the things that I wanted to share with our listeners is that our friend Toot Kylek, who I believe is at NeighborWorks, is that right? Am I remembering that correctly? And he says food brings people together, and has a heart emoji with it. And I feel like for us, that's very much a part of our faith and a part of what we believe, is that food does bring people together, and that there is something holy that happens when we share food together. And I think that's one of the reasons that our people continue to go down. This is the one ministry of mercy that we participate in where we're actually with people eating. And we keep trying to cross over that barrier with our food pantry clients, and we keep trying to cross over that barrier in other places. But for anybody who's listening and wants to participate, the gathering place is where the meal and the food brings people together. Vince asks, are there small businesses? Are there ways that small businesses can partner together with the gathering place? Which might be a question of like, how do you get the food? How do you create a menu? What if somebody has a special talent? Like, you know, a while ago, one of our people thought it would be a great idea to have Kona Ice, and so Kona Ice was like, what, like how can small businesses and the community participate in the gathering place to partner together?
That was such a beautiful observation that one of your parishioners saw that, hey, this would be an opportunity to bring Kona Ice to share with the gathering place guests, and they were so thankful for that. As far as small businesses, please, anyone reach out to me. There are many ways people can partner with us. The volunteer schedule is pretty packed, but there might be an opportunity if someone really does want to get on the volunteer schedule. You just have to connect with us and we'll see what's open. That is the best problem in the world to have, that we have so many dedicated volunteers that there aren't any openings typically. But that's always an option. Secondly, we see a lot of small businesses or nearby corporations that will have like a meal that is served for their workplace, and they'll have leftovers. Leadership Lincoln is actually giving us their leftovers on days that they have an abundance of food. So if it's still worth serving, it's not picked through, but you know, good quality food. We're happy to be on the receiving end to stretch our capacity for what we're serving. Most of our food is sourced from the Food Bank of Lincoln. They make that accessible to us at a lower cost than what a grocery store would, or food provider. But we have to add to that some. So most of it is food bank. One volunteer group still makes the meal. They are coming tonight and they make a fabulous meal. The history of the gathering place is so rich. Someone just yesterday after the service said they remember when they used to make the pot of soup and bring it and hope that everyone tells the story of, I hope it didn't spill and it would stay hot. And it's harder for volunteers to make the meals in that quantity that we're serving now. So we do that here in this very small kitchen in this old home, and we make it work. We're looking for ways to make it more efficient. That's a dream that we'll get to at some point. But it's just such a neat way of providing the food, cooking it from scratch, providing non-processed fruits and vegetables so that we get that nutrition to people automatically. It's just part of what we do. But anyone is welcome to call the gathering place, email. The best way to find our contact information is on the Community Action website. It's Community Action Partnership of Lancaster and Saunders Counties. So that might be helpful, but there's lots of ways we can partner. Just reach out.
Wonderful, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time being with here and sharing of your passion and inspiring us with your stories. And yeah, food brings people together and nourishes not just our bodies. We are so grateful for this partnership, and we look forward to what it brings next. And yeah. And to our listeners, so glad for tuning in. We hope that this story of the gathering place inspires you too, in whatever way, wherever you are, to weave hope into the fabric of our lives and our tables. Thanks for joining us, and we see you next time.
See you next time.